I've had friends over the years who have a dream, who want to do their creative work on another level, ask me if they should move to Nashville, Tennessee. And so maybe you're wondering the same thing. Maybe you're a creative person, you do creative work, and you're wanting to know if you should move to Nashville or any other kind of creative hub like LA or New York or Austin. You get the idea. Should you move to one of these places so that you can really do your creative work? I have thoughts about this, and so that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we go any further, I'm terrible about saying hello. I'm Jonathan. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, this is a place where I love to talk about creativity, entrepreneurship, and faith. I hang out on that corner. It's a place for people who like to hang out there with me. We talk about all kinds of things, and I am posting 30 videos in 30 days just to get this channel off the ground, to get it started. And then from there, I have some plans that I'm excited about that I'll be sharing with you soon. But for me, as a creative, I have made my living since college doing creative work. I have been primarily a songwriter and an artist, but I love all kinds of creative stuff. I love photography. I love writing. I love making videos. I am a multi-passionate creative person, and I love not only doing creative work, but I love finding ways to make income from creative work. And so if that's you, then this is a great spot for you, because we're going to be talking about that a lot in coming videos. About 20 years ago, I moved to Nashville, Tennessee from a small town in Texas. I moved here because I had a creative dream. I had a creative longing, and I found a university here that seemed really interesting, called Belmont University. And so I went to Belmont to grow in my singing, to grow in my songwriting, to grow as an artist, because that's why I moved here, was to be an artist. I moved here more for that than I did to go to school. Going to school was kind of an excuse. I really just wanted to be an artist. And I've got to tell you that moving to Nashville was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, but my story is not everyone's story, and I know a lot of people who have moved to Nashville, and it has been a really terrible decision for them. There are pros and cons worth considering when you're trying to decide whether or not moving to a major creative hub, a major city with a creative industry, is a really good choice for you or not. It might be, it might not be. There are pros and cons. Let's talk about them. Nashville is a really amazing, awesome place because it's full of so many creative and talented people. But at the same time, that's also what makes it not awesome at times. Places like this are full of so much talent and so much potential that it can be both inspiring and incredibly discouraging. I think one of the main pros for moving to a place like Nashville, if you do creative work, is the creative community. I can't overstate how valuable that is for a lot of people and how valuable it's been for me. One of the hard things about being a creative person and living in a place that doesn't have a lot of creatives is that you can many times feel really discouraged because no one gets you. No one understands the creative work you do. No one understands the creative longings that you have. No one understands the creative dreams. No one understands the creative ambitions that you have. There's just sometimes not a lot of people around you going in the same direction. And there's something really powerful about being surrounded by a bunch of people who get it, who are also creatively ambitious, who are creatively going after goals, trying to build creative careers, trying to grow in their craft. That kind of support, that kind of environment is really healthy for a lot of creatives. And one of the things that can really kill our creative desire is if we live somewhere where we are not encouraged, where no one looks like us, no one acts like us, no one is doing the things that we're doing. And so we begin to feel like we're crazy, or like maybe we're not supposed to do this because this is not normal for people in this area. And so I know a lot of creatives who have just felt drained by the lack of creative energy around them. Another big reason why community is such a big pro for places like Nashville is that it's a great place to network. And networking is kind of a dirty word. It feels yucky, but really networking is just about making relationships with people and building connections that can be helpful and mutually beneficial. And that is really powerful for a lot of reasons. First of all, if you are in a creative community, if you're getting to know other people who do creative work like what you do, it's really helpful because you can begin to form collaborations. And collaborations are one of the big ways to start growing your creative endeavor that you're doing, because you're able to tap into not only your audience, but if you do creative collaborations, you're able to tap into the audience of other people. That's one of the ways that I was able to get started as an artist, is because I came to Belmont University. I made friends with a lot of other creatives, and 5 of my closest friends were artists as well. They were songwriters, and they happened to be from 5 different states than me. And so when we got together out of college and we were like, hey, let's form this singer-songwriter group and let's go visit all of our different states, well, that was awesome for me because I was able to introduce my music, my voice, my artistry to 5 other areas of people, 5 different communities that would have no idea who I was, and I would have a really hard time reaching them had it not been for the ability to collaborate. And that was really helpful for my friends as well, because they had access to my communities and to the people who already knew me, to my audience. And so collaborations are really helpful, and they can really help escalate your creative endeavors and give you creative growth quickly if you're able to form those good collaborations. But a little caveat is that when I was really getting started with my creative pursuits, 15 years ago, once I was out of college, the internet wasn't quite what it is today. And so you can form these kinds of collaborations and do these collaborative projects a lot easier today just by forming these kinds of relationships online with other creative people. So if you can't move to a place like Nashville, a creative hub like that, don't be discouraged, because there are lots of ways to tap into creative communities online that can help you build relationships and form collaborations. And the last benefit of being a part of a creative community is the thing that everyone thinks about when they think about moving to a place like Nashville, when they think about moving to a place like LA, when they think about moving to a place like New York, and that is the ability to form a partnership. And by partnership, I just mean some kind of label, some kind of studio, some kind of brand catches on to what you're doing because they see you play at the, local singer-songwriter club, the local bar, and they're like, you're the best thing since sliced bread and we want to sign you. And that is a big reason why a lot of people move to major creative hubs, is that they're hoping to find partnerships like that. They're hoping to get discovered. They're hoping that by moving to a creative hub, that's more likely to happen. And the simple truth of the matter is that in some ways it is more likely to happen. If you're able to network and you're able to build relationships with people and you're able to show them your creative work, then sometimes it is a little bit easier to build those partnerships, because it's like one of those things, out of sight, out of mind. And so if you're here and you're showing up and you're getting in front of people like that consistently, it can kind of increase your chances of building partnerships like that. But I don't recommend moving to a place like Nashville hanging on the single hope of finding a partnership, finding that label deal, finding that management deal, finding a chance to be a part of that studio. Don't do that. If you move to a place like Nashville just for that, then you are potentially setting yourself up for a lot of discouragement and disillusionment when you get here, because you really need to have other reasons for why you're moving to a creative hub like Nashville. You can't hang all of your hopes and dreams off of one person discovering you and finding you. You need to have a better game plan than that. And there are lots of really good reasons to move to a place like Nashville. That is one part of the reason, but it shouldn't be the only reason. So the cons of moving to a creative hub are kind of just the dark side of being a part of a creative community. When you move to a place like Nashville, you quickly realize that there are a lot of talented people. There are a lot of people who are likely much further along than you and much more talented than you. And it's easy to kind of get lost in the crowd, to get lost in the sea of so much incredible talent. And it can be really humbling and really quickly and easily discouraging. And that discouragement happens for a few reasons. Number one, it can be really difficult to be heard here. Even though there are lots of opportunities, for example, in Nashville, if you're an artist and you're a musician, there are places you can play all over Nashville. which you would think, yes, like that's amazing. I can play all over Nashville. But at the same time, there are a lot of places to play in Nashville. So every night of the week, there are gigs happening all over town. And in a way, even if you're heard, it's hard to really be heard because it's not unique. It's not special. It's not different here. You're just one of a million other super talented artists, super talented singers who are playing at the local bar. That can be hard because you can be doing a lot in your creative craft and yet not really gaining much momentum in a place like Nashville. While it's helpful to have a creative community in Nashville, something that I've noticed is that if you're getting your start, if you're trying to grow your creative endeavor, then it's actually helpful to try to grow your audience outside of Nashville. Even if you are living in Nashville or a creative hub like that, you have to go outside in order to build that audience. That's exactly what happened with us. Like I told you, me and my friends, we were a bunch of creatives gathered together, but then whenever we went to go play our stuff and build our audience, we went back home. We went to our home states and we built our audience from there. And over the last 15 years, it's been a process of building an audience outside of Nashville. And it's really only been in the last several years that we've been able to have more and more of a voice in Nashville and feel like we've established ourselves as artists and creatives within the city of Nashville, that we've begun to build an audience within the city of Nashville. The way we got our start and the way that a lot of creatives get their start is to come to Nashville, be supported by the creative community, build collaborations, maybe look into helpful partnerships, but to really seek to build your creative audience, the audience that's going to love the work that you do, you're going to need to probably build those outside of Nashville first. This is a hot take, but in my personal opinion, if you are spending all of your time and your energy trying to do all of your creative work and build an audience within a creative hub, then you are likely wasting a lot of time and you're wasting a lot of energy. I'm not saying you should never do those things. I'm just saying building an audience in Nashville is a very difficult thing to do. And in some ways, it feels like a fool's errand, not because you're not good, not because you don't have something of value to offer, but because you're just one in a million here. I've rambled about this too much, but the point is just that creative hubs are often not a great place to start building your audience. Not only is it hard to get heard in Nashville because there is so much of a creative community, there's so much talent in one space, but it can be really deflating because it's really hard in a place like Nashville. Even when you're trying to support and encourage one another, it's really hard to not compare yourself to the people around you, to compare your weaknesses to so-and-so's strengths. You have to have a lot of mental fortitude as an artist. You have to really know your strengths, know what you're growing towards, and be okay that so-and-so is better than you, or that so-and-so is further along than you. You have to be in a super solid place of growth mindset in order to kind of survive a place like Nashville, Tennessee. Otherwise, it's going to chew you up and spit you out because everyone here is focused on their own creative work in their own creative endeavor. We do support one another, but this is a place where you really need to know your own value. You need to know what you offer. You need to be able to stand up confidently in your own skills and your own abilities in spite of feeling envious, in spite of feeling intimidated. You've just got to have good mental tools for how to deal with the comparison monster if you're going to move to a big creative hub. Another part of the discouragement that can come from being a part of such a concentrated creative community is that there's sometimes just not a ton of encouragement in communities like that. Now, that might sound like a complete contradiction to what I've said before, because in truth, there is encouragement in that you feel seen, you feel known, you feel like you resonate with what other people are doing. You're not completely weird. And that is a real benefit for our hearts and our minds as creatives. But in another way, it's sometimes helpful to be weird, because if you're weird as a creative, as a performer, as someone who's trying to draw an audience, being weird draws attention. Being weird allows for people to take notice quicker of the things that you're doing. When you're in a creative community and everyone is doing what you're doing, it's no longer that interesting that you've written 100 songs. It's no longer that interesting that you take amazing street photography. It's no longer amazing that you are an incredibly talented vocalist and singer. It's just normal. It's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, of course. You might be super talented and you might be really good at the thing that you do. If you were to live in the middle of a community where what you do is really specific and unique, then you might have a lot of people really instantly taking notice of the fact that you write songs or that you're an amazing singer. It's the whole big fish in a small pond thing. In certain communities, it might be helpful to you to be a big fish and to be able to get noticed, and that might help get you momentum even more than having collaborations and having this network of other artists. But in a place like Nashville, in creative hubs like that, you instantly become a small fish in a very big pond, and what you do is remarkable, but you might not feel anymore like it's that remarkable because you're just like everyone else that's here. You're just doing the same things that everyone else is doing. And so in that way, it can be discouraging. It's not that, in my experience, people are harsh or overly critical. It's just that what you do isn't that remarkable to people in creative hubs, and you have to kind of get used to that. You have to get used to it being normal that you do creative work, and you have to get used to people in those areas acting like it's a humdrum, everyday, normal kind of thing when you are putting all of your energies and efforts into sharing with them your best creative work. And so yeah, just to be clear, at least in my experience in Nashville, maybe it's different in other creative hubs, but Nashville is not a place that is overly critical. I have not felt people be ugly or mean or super critical of creative work or people who are trying to move towards creative endeavors. In fact, I've felt very encouraged. I have felt like a lot of people have blown wind into my sails and it encouraged me to press on and press in. But at the same time, the creative community in Nashville is just not that amazed at the creative work that you do. And that's just something to get used to. So the question is, should you move to a creative hub? And my answer to that would be, it just kind of depends on your situation. It depends on your goals. For a lot of creatives, it would actually be very helpful for you not to move to a creative hub because you can be weird where you are and you can grow your audience. You can grow your creative endeavor faster and easier by being unique, by being different, by being one of the only people who does this kind of thing and happens to be remarkable at it. That kind of person who is able to grow their audience outside of Nashville in a community that they're in. If that's you and you move to a place like Nashville, then my fear for you and what I've seen happen is that you would move to a place like that and it's almost like completely starting over, and all of a sudden you get super discouraged, super intimidated, super disillusioned, and you just feel like chasing that creative endeavor and that creative dream was dumb to begin with, because now that you've moved to Nashville, you're really humbled by the fact that you're like one in a million. And that's really sad to me, because if you had just stayed in your own community and not moved to Nashville, you might have been more encouraged and you might have found that you can grow your creative endeavor faster because there's an audience there who are interested and hungry for the creative work that you do. But on the other side of the coin, if you want to take your creative work seriously and you feel stifled and no one around you can encourage you or help you or inspire you in your creative work, there's no ways to make connections and build community with like-minded people, then I think moving to Nashville could be a really good thing for you. You just have to move to a place like that, not believing that it's a magical land that's going to solve all your creative problems and make your creative career happen. You have to move to a creative hub like that and be ready to put in the work, be ready to be savvy. You have to come equipped with mindset tools that can help protect and guard you from discouragement and help you walk confidently in the gifts and the abilities and then the creative mojo that you have. But moving to Nashville and finding good collaborations, finding good partnerships, finding people that you can work with and resonate with, that could really help your career grow. It could really help amplify and put some fuel behind your creative endeavors. So I know I didn't really give you an answer, because the truth is there's not one right answer for everyone. It kind of just depends on your situation, but I hope that this video has given you some things to think about in regards to your situation. I don't know what your life looks like. I don't know what it looks like for you right now as you're trying to put your creative work into the world. You're trying to grow your audience. I don't know what your goals are. Is your goal to mostly grow an audience, or is your goal to find collaborations, to be able to feed your own creative spirit so that you can be encouraged to continue to grow in your creative craft? I don't know. I don't know what your goal is, but it's worth thinking through some of these things before you make a really big decision like moving to Nashville. And it's important to again, just remember that moving to a place like that isn't going to probably magically transform your life, but it could be helpful. In tomorrow's video, I'm going to kind of follow up this video, and I want to talk with you about this desire to make it that we feel as artists, this desire to arrive at some undefined place and reach the pinnacle of our creative potential and opportunities and career and audience. And yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be an interesting video, and it hopefully will be a helpful video and help you be in a more sobered mindset, even as you continue to think about what you should do next, how you should take your next steps. Should you move to a creative place like Nashville? I don't know, but I hope tomorrow's video will help give you even more clarity as to what you're trying to accomplish, what you hope to do, and help you kind of buffer yourself against the inevitable discouragements, challenges, hardships that are going to come as you are pressing in to your creative dream, as you're pressing into your creative endeavors. So yeah, I hope you'll join me in tomorrow's video. You can subscribe below to make sure you don't miss it and you don't miss any future videos coming out. But that's all for today, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, friends.